I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is once again for Guillermo. And I'm going to try to put all of his stuff out the same day. Maybe like 2 or 3 early on, and then maybe the next 2 a little bit later in the night, just so it doesn't overwhelm you guys too much. I apologize for that. I just have a lot to get to, so I don't want to have people wait too long. It's the least I can do, because people like Guillermo sent in either requests via my PayPal or were part of my Patreon. So I really appreciate people who have done that. And I want to do my best. So if you're interested in sending requests via PayPal or pretty much any type of video, you can do it directly to my PayPal in the link down below, or you can be part of my Patreon, which there's certain tiers for certain things. And now that I've gone a minute, giving myself a BJ, I get to the movie at hand. The Atticus Institute, which I had never heard of, but it's another, not really found footage, more fake documentary. And that's the best way to put it. It's a fake documentary. In the vein of The Tunnel, not in plot, but in structure, where you have people talking to the camera and present time, and then I'll cut to the footage that we see. Although I like The Tunnel much more than this. That's a film I reviewed on the channel. I think it was from 2011. God, it's been that long. I really enjoy The Tunnel. I think that of this type of genre, that's one of my favorites. But this, I didn't hate the film. I didn't think it was awful. That type of setup, I don't mind. Obviously, it's not going to have the typical found footage ending because of the setup. I liked that it was, in a way, a period piece, because it takes place, the flashbacks, the footage, I should say, in 1976. So the film quality is trying to have that 70s, like, film stock look, meaning, like, what would someone holding the camera or camcorder would record a la 1975, 76. So the look of the film, I was a little bit of a sucker for. I don't know why. Just something a little bit different. Also, I liked where it was set, because in 1976, there's a small psychology lab, and it's an institute to research psychic phenomena. You remember the beginning of Ghostbusters, the original, where Peter Venkman was testing the 2 people, and the one guy with the gums, and the gum fell out. You keep the $5. I will, mister. That's the kind of stuff that they're doing in this movie, where, you know, is it wavy lines? Is it blah blah blah, and they're supposed to guess what it is, and then they show to the camera, they film the stuff. They do a bit of a setup. For example, they talk about this guy who's telekinetic, and they're watching this guy move stuff. Oh, they think they got the real thing, and then find out that it was fate, because one of them was wearing this watch that moved shit, and the head professor guy did not know. A good chunk of the other guys didn't know, and it really hurt their institute. And then this lady comes in with her sister and pretty much dumps her sister there. And apparently the sister, she's got these powers, but then come to find out she is possessed. And the setup of this film, it is the home to the only government-confirmed case of possession. And then later on, the U.S. military assumed control of the lab under orders of national security. And then they try to weaponize the entity. And that's what this documentary is supposed to be. I would say for a chunk of this film, I was kind of getting into it because, I don't know, just for some reason, I don't mind the idea of a fake documentary about this type of event, and with making it look like it was from the 70s, trying to be a documentary that you see on the History Channel or some of that sort, so there'd be still pictures, people narrating, a lot of talking heads. They interviewed like the Defense Intelligence Agency and all what this was about, what that was about. So again, maybe I was enjoying it because I haven't seen that done in a while. Maybe it has, but I just haven't seen it. But then you get to the issue where it's a lot of talking and not a lot of showing. And I would make a guess that this gets low ratings because of that. That a lot of people would say, show, don't tell. But there's a lot of telling and not showing a lot. And a good chunk of the film are the scientists giving her these tests and just her doing these tests. Moving stuff. She's pounding on the table and then doesn't, but then the table pounds by itself. Her guessing all the cards. She draws something that pisses off someone else because it reminded her of the death of her mom. Like doing this stuff. And then from time to time cuts to people talking about their thoughts, their feelings. I thought that worked in the tunnel because A, there were fewer characters that did that. Really 2 in the tunnel. And it was a lot more of the actual footage. And it felt more of a story of characters. You actually got to know a bit, at least to me, a little bit more of the backstory, but also just their personality of these characters so that they became characters, at least in my opinion. Especially the cameraman I liked a lot in the tunnel. I think you mentioned that. This, you never really get a sense of the characters. There were quite a few times someone's talking, I go, who is that person in the footage? Because they don't really focus, they don't really go into any backstory except maybe the lead professor who went missing because of the ending. So you get family members talking about their dad or their husband. But the other people, you don't really get a sense other than, this is what I felt. This is what I felt. But part of me goes, who are you? You're just a soldier. You're just a guy who worked for defense. You're just a scientist. That's the only way I could describe you is by your profession. Nothing else. And that's where... To be fair, in a real documentary, that would not happen either. I think that's what they're trying to do, I get, but kind of one of the downfalls of doing it that way. Yes, you're trying to be a lot more like a documentary, but you lose the fact that we know this is a fake documentary, so we know we're watching a movie. You try to be too much of a documentary that because you don't have characters and you don't have a ton of stuff happening or a ton of action, it'd get tedious, a bit boring, a bit redundant. Testing. Here's another testing where then hyperspectral photography. I had to write that down because I wasn't going to remember that. And red lights that go on and flashes, and then the government gets in. They want to test. And well, what can you do with your mind? And they put a frog in a case and it explodes and it gets dark. And she tries to get out, but then she gets sedated. Interview with army officials in present day, go back to more testing. And then you get to, part of me thought this was ridiculous, but at the same time part of me went, sadly I could see that happening. Not that I thought this was real, but going, if the military wants to weaponize it, and then part of me is like, really? Weaponize this? And then part of me is like, we've seen the government do stupider stuff. And I did say that on purpose. Stupider ain't a word. Exactly. Neither's ain't. Exactly. That's the point. What they're trying to do is give the thing either cooperation or suffering. And reposition the subs out of the Baltic Sea. Because remember, this is the Cold War. This is the late 70s where this footage is in. It just gets a bit boring. An old hat. People looking through glass at the woman tied to a chair. Oh, they put gas to her. More people looking through glass at the woman tied to the chair, the woman's possessed, then they shock her. It just got repetitive and meh. I'm going, just get on with it. Maybe if you cut all of this to an hour and be part of... You remember the movie Two Evil Eyes where it was 2 stories in one movie? Maybe if it was that. Maybe if it was cut down to 45 minutes to an hour at most. You cut the repetitiveness. But it would be repetitive because they gotta do tests. But it doesn't become that entertaining. And there's really nothing tremendously scary. They do little bits here and there, but if you've seen enough of these movies, some of them were not bad. Like the bit where she keeps pounding, they keep talking to her, and then she stops, and then the table pounds by itself, and they jump. But, and by this point, I mean, even this, which came out 2015, when all these other films had come out, whether it be the paranormal activity films, although this did not annoy me as much as those. I mean, you just say, well, more stuff happens in those. Not Paranormal Activity 2. There's still more stuff happens in this than Paranormal Activity 2. And maybe because the way it's shot, I'm like, okay, it doesn't have the typical everyone's fucked dead found in footage ending, so that gives a little bit of credit for me. Again, just a personal preference thing. And then at the end, they bring a priest. I thought the finale was anticlimactic. And you go, that's the ending? Part of me almost went, oh wait, it's over already? And again, I like the idea. I like the premise. Psychology lab in the 70s, and the military wants to use this possessed woman as a weapon, and the 70s photography of that old school camera, like trying to make it look like that. And the people doing the interviews, they're not bad. I didn't think they looked fake and phony, but never to the point that you go, oh, this is real. No, of course it's not. It's a movie. But they weren't bad or awful. That's what I mean. Like, the first half of this film I didn't mind. But then it never really felt it got into any extra gears because it's tried to be too much of a documentary. And then you get, spoiler alert, the ending, they bring the priest in, just they want to bring the possessed person, the spirit into one of their soldiers, which is fucking dumb because why do you think that's going to fuck? So your soldier is not going to fucking control. I didn't understand that logic. We want to take out this lady and put her in the soldier. You'd be in the same fucking position. Nothing would be different. So what would be the difference? So the characters being incredibly fucking stupid because we gotta have an ending to the movie, the fake documentary. So the test goes wrong, everyone's knocked out, not dead, knocked out, and you find out that it didn't go into the soldier, it went into the professor, who I guess you would call our lead character, I guess, because he's barely a character, which is one of the issues of this movie. He walks around, this horrible effect. The ending kind of shit the bed for this flick because of the stupid decisions. It didn't feel that big or grand for the finale of your movie. Even if you're trying to make a fake documentary still. Horrible special effect of the stomach of the lady. There's a hole in her, but it looks awful. Like someone just put it in Photoshop and just it looked really fake and phony of her stomach blowing up. And it's a faraway shot, so it's like pip. It's like, really? And then the doc leaves. And then some text, oh, he's presumed to be dead. And I'm like, this is the ending? This is really anticlimactic. With a bad effect and stupid decisions. So again, starts off promisingly. Don't mind the format. Acting, I don't think was that bad. But then by the second half, it got tedious, repetitive, try to be just a lot more tell and no show, which is a mistake. That's why show don't tell. There are movies that have done that well. The original Blair Witch Project, I love. That doesn't show a lot, but I liked the characters. People didn't, but I liked the characters. That's the thing. If you don't do that, you gotta give us characters. This really doesn't do either of that. So that's why the second half just got a bit boring, and then the ending is just pretty lame. And I'll repeat myself, anticlimactic. So mixed bag. I didn't hate the film. Glad I saw it once, but in a way a missed opportunity, especially for the second half. But that's just me. Either way, thanks for watching. Thank you once again, Guillermo. Take care, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.